The scenario of a militarized, politicized MAGA army under Donald Trump has begun to emerge as a serious concern for political analysts, military experts, and American citizens alike. On the first day of his hypothetical second term in office, Trump reportedly plans to execute an executive order aimed at purging the U.S. military of anyone who does not display absolute loyalty to him and his administration. This move, which would specifically target top generals and senior military officials, is viewed by many as an alarming step toward consolidating absolute power. This purge would be facilitated by the creation of a new body, the Warrior Board, charged with identifying and removing military leaders who fail to demonstrate the necessary fealty to the president. Critics argue that Trump's vision of military leadership is not just about competence, but about personal loyalty, and in doing so, he is threatening to undermine the core values that have long made the U.S. military one of the most powerful and respected in the world. But beyond the immediate concerns over military effectiveness, the very idea of a MAGA army also raises broader questions about the future of American democracy and its military-industrial complex. The fear is that such a move would transform the U.S. military from a neutral, apolitical institution designed to protect the Constitution into an authoritarian tool of the president's personal agenda. The creation of the Warrior Board and its dangers. The concept of the Warrior Board itself is a chilling reminder of how autocratic regimes consolidate power through purging institutions of dissent. In many authoritarian states, leaders purify their ranks by ensuring only loyalists remain in positions of power. Trump's proposal to create this board suggests he intends to wield the military like a political weapon, sidelining anyone who doesn't align with his worldview. This Warrior Board would be tasked with a monumental responsibility to assess the loyalty of senior officers, generals, and even lower-ranking officials. Those who are deemed insufficiently loyal to Trump or who have shown any dissent toward his policies would be removed from their positions or forced into early retirement. The end goal, according to experts, is to transform the U.S. military into a force that serves Trump's personal interests, not the national interest. This proposal is not only concerning for those within the military, but for the future of American democracy itself. The military, by design, must remain free of partisan influence. It is not a political tool to be wielded at the discretion of any one individual. Yet, Trump's plans represent a clear attempt to control the U.S. military apparatus for personal and political gain, potentially tipping the scales toward an authoritarian regime. Political loyalty over competence. The price of purging the military. One of the key dangers of Trump's proposed purge is that it shifts the focus from military competence and experience to political loyalty. Historically, the U.S. military has thrived under a system where leadership is rooted in merit, education, and years of service. Generals and admirals rise through the ranks due to their tactical and strategic expertise, not because of their political affiliations. The idea of replacing seasoned leaders with sycophantic yes-men is a move that could deeply destabilize the military and its ability to respond to critical national security threats. Moreover, this shift could have unintended consequences on the military's operational effectiveness. If officers are selected based on loyalty rather than qualifications, there is a real risk that key decisions about national defense would be made not on the basis of sound military strategy, but on Trump's political whims. Given the global challenges the U.S. faces, ranging from Russia's aggression in Eastern Europe to China's rising influence in Asia, a purged, politically loyal military would not be able to confront these threats with the professionalism and expertise that has historically kept the U.S. secure. Furthermore, the purge could trigger a massive exodus of experienced military officers who may refuse to serve under a regime that demands such fealty. The loss of these officers would create a leadership vacuum, damaging the military's institutional knowledge and eroding its ability to function effectively on the global stage. The historical parallels to autocratic regimes. Trump's apparent vision of the military closely mirrors that of other authoritarian leaders throughout history. Adolf Hitler's use of the Wehrmacht as an instrument of personal power is a stark reminder of how leaders who prioritize loyalty over competence can cripple their military's ability to function effectively. During Hitler's reign, loyal generals were promoted to positions of power, while those who challenged him, or who were seen as less committed to his vision, were purged. This strategy had disastrous consequences for Nazi Germany's military capabilities during World War II. The purge of qualified military leaders created a system in which military decisions were increasingly dictated by political ideology rather than tactical expertise. This ultimately contributed to the collapse of the German military in the latter years of the war. Trump's plans, if implemented, could have similar consequences. By removing military officials who are not sufficiently loyal, Trump would likely open the door for dangerous miscalculations and poorly executed military strategies that prioritize political allegiance over the best interests of national security. The national security consequences: weakening the military. The fallout from Trump's proposed military purge would undoubtedly extend beyond the internal workings of the military. The consequences for national security could be catastrophic. With top military officials more concerned with maintaining their positions through loyalty to Trump than with the practicalities of defense strategy, the United States could face strategic missteps that jeopardize both domestic and international security. Furthermore, the shift toward a MAGA army could prompt international adversaries, such as Russia and China, to exploit the U.S.'s military vulnerabilities. The perception that the U.S. is no longer a stable, reliable global power could embolden these nations to take aggressive actions without fear of significant American retaliation. There is also the very real risk of domestic instability. The military, in times of political crisis, is often called upon to protect the integrity of democratic processes. A military loyal only to Trump could be complicit in silencing political opposition, suppressing protests, or even backing actions that undermine the democratic fabric of the nation. Civil rights and the militarization of domestic policy. One of the most alarming consequences of a politicized military is its potential use for domestic political purposes. Historically, the U.S. military's role in domestic affairs has been restricted to matters such as natural disaster relief or border security. The politicization of the military under Trump, however, could see its deployment in situations where it would be used to enforce political agendas, such as the quelling of protests, the suppression of opposition, or the enforcement of policies like Trump's harsh immigration stance. This could usher in a period of heightened political violence and civil unrest, where the military is deployed not as a neutral force, but as a means of enforcing authoritarian control. The military's historical role as a defender of civil liberties could be irreparably damaged, and its use as a tool for political oppression would set a dangerous precedent for future administrations. The idea of a MAGA army under Donald Trump represents a direct threat not only to the U.S. military's effectiveness, but also to the very foundation of American democracy. By seeking to transform the military into a political tool, Trump would be abandoning the principle that the military serves the nation, not any one individual. This erosion of military independence would have far-reaching consequences, ranging from diminished national security to the loss of constitutional freedoms. The possibility of a military purge that favors loyalty over competence is a chilling reminder of how fragile democracy can be. As the U.S. faces growing internal divisions and external threats, the last thing it needs is a weakened, politicized military. This is a moment when American citizens must rise up in defense of their rights and demand that the military remain free of political subjugation. The strength of the U.S. military lies in its ability to function impartially, and this must be preserved at all costs. If the country is to avoid slipping further into authoritarianism, it is essential that Americans, their lawmakers, and their military leaders stand firm against the erosion of the military's core values. The future of the nation depends on ensuring that the U.S. military remains a bastion of democracy, not a tool of political power. As the political climate intensifies, the need to safeguard the integrity of the military, and by extension, the integrity of the nation itself, has never been more urgent.